Baltimore, Maryland. December 1941. A German intelligence officer stares at intercepted reports, his hands trembling. "Impossible," he whispers. "This cannot be real. The numbers don't make sense." American shipyards. Building cargo ships in 4 days. 4 days. His entire career. He'd been taught that building a cargo ship took 8 to 12 months. The Kriegsmarine had planned everything around this timeline. Sink ships faster than America could replace them. Starve Britain. Win the Atlantic. But now, these reports. Ships appearing like ghosts, faster than Germany could sink them. One name kept appearing in the intelligence files. Joseph "Smokey" Brunton, a welder from Richmond, California. What did this man do? And why? Did German High Command classify it as the most dangerous technical development of the war? Let's go back. 1940. Britain is dying. Slowly, methodically, by starvation. German U-boats prowl the Atlantic like wolves. Every month, they sent hundreds of thousands of tons of Allied shipping to the bottom of the ocean. Food, medicine, weapons, fuel, all of it, sinking into the cold darkness. Churchill sends a desperate message to Roosevelt. The Battle of the Atlantic is everything. If we lose there, we lose everywhere. America's response? Build more ships. Replace losses faster than Germany can sink them. Simple strategy. Impossible execution. Here's why. Traditional shipbuilding in 1940? It was an art. Skilled riveters working in pairs, heating metal rivets to glowing red, hammering them into place one by one. Thousands of rivets, tens of thousands, per ship. A standard cargo ship? 45 days of construction. Minimum. That's with experienced crews working around the clock. America needed hundreds of these ships. Fast. The math was brutal. At 45 days per ship, America would lose the Atlantic before the first wave of new ships even launched. President Roosevelt made an announcement that shocked the shipbuilding industry. We will build 3,000 cargo ships. We call them Liberty ships, and we need them now. 3,000 ships, 45 days each. Naval architects did the calculation. It would take over 300 years. The war would be over, one way or another. But then, a welder from California stepped forward with an idea so insane, so reckless, that every shipbuilding expert in America told him he was out of his mind. His name was Joseph Brunton, and he was about to change everything. Richmond, California. Kaiser Shipyards. Early 1942, Joseph Brunton wasn't a naval architect, wasn't an engineer. He was a welder. Blue-collar, practical, impatient with the way things have always been done. He'd been watching the riveting crews, watching them heat rivets, position them, hammer them, one at a time. It was driving him crazy. "There's got to be a faster way," he told his supervisor. His supervisor laughed. "Kid, we've been building ships with rivets for 2,000 years. If there was a better way, someone would have found it." But Brunton wasn't convinced. He'd been experimenting, off the clock, using his own equipment. Welding, not riveting. Welding entire hull sections together. Crazy, right? Here's what everyone knew about welding ships in 1942. Don't do it. Welded seams were weak. They cracked under stress, under cold water, under torpedo impact. The British had tried welding in World War I. Catastrophic failures. Ships literally breaking in half at sea. The U.S. Navy had banned welding for critical hull structures. But Brunton, he thought he'd figured out why those welds failed. Temperature, technique, sequencing. He believed, he knew, he could make it work. His supervisor told him to drop it. Focus on his job. Stop wasting time. Brunton ignored him. He started welding test sections, stress testing them, documenting everything. And the numbers were insane. A riveting crew could join 2 hull plates in 4 hours. Brunton could weld the same joint in 18 minutes, 13 times faster. But speed meant nothing if the welds failed at sea. So Brunton did something unprecedented. He requested permission to conduct full-scale stress tests, not on small samples, on entire ship sections. Kaiser Shipyards management thought he was wasting resources. But Henry Kaiser himself, the owner, he was intrigued. "Let the kid try," Kaiser said. "What's the worst that happens? We waste a week?" They built 2 identical hull sections, one riveted, one welded using Brunton's method. Then they subjected both to extreme stress tests: hydraulic pressure, temperature cycling from freezing to boiling, simulated torpedo impacts. The riveted section performed. As expected, strong, reliable, proven. The welded section? It was stronger. Not marginally stronger. Significantly stronger. The welded seams distributed stress more evenly. No weak points from rivet holes. No gaps for water infiltration. The engineers couldn't believe it. They ran the tests again. Same results. Henry Kaiser made a decision that would change the war. "We're going full welding. Retrofit the entire shipyard. Train every worker." Naval architects protested. "You'll kill sailors. Those welds will fail." Kaiser's response? "Then we'll be the first to know. We're building them anyway." But Kaiser added one condition. Every welded Liberty ship would undergo the most rigorous inspection in maritime history. X-rays of critical welds, ultrasonic testing, pressure tests that exceeded anything the Navy required. If a weld showed any defect, the entire section was scrapped and rebuilt. Quality control became obsessive, paranoid, necessary. And Brunton's method? It required perfect technique, specific welding rod angles, precise heat control, exact sequencing to prevent warping. Brunton spent 12-hour shifts training welders, hundreds of them, showing them his technique step by step. "You're not just joining metal," he'd say. "You're creating a single piece. No seams, no weakness, just one solid ship." The first all-welded Liberty ship launched in September 1942, the SS Robert E. Peary. Construction time? 4 days, 15 hours, 29 minutes. From keel laying to launch, 4 days. Naval experts predicted it would sink within a month. It didn't. The Robert E. Peary served throughout the entire war, crossed the Atlantic 43 times, survived 2 U-boat attacks, never suffered a single weld failure. German intelligence intercepted reports of the launch time. 4 days. They assumed it was a typo or propaganda. But then, more reports, more ships, all built in 4 to 7 days. The Kriegsmarine realized something terrifying. America wasn't just building ships faster than Germany could sink them. America was building ships 13 times faster than Germany had planned for. The entire U-boat strategy, obsolete. Overnight, Admiral Dönitz, commander of the U-boat fleet, sent a classified memo to Hitler. "The enemy has achieved a technical breakthrough in ship production that renders our tonnage warfare unsustainable. We are now sinking ships at 1/13 the rate necessary to achieve strategic effect." Translation: "We've already lost. Let's talk numbers." Because the numbers are staggering. By the end of 1942, American shipyards were launching 3 Liberty ships per day. 3 per day. In 1943, production peaked at 5 ships per day. The Germans couldn't believe it. They literally thought American reports were propaganda. U-boat commanders started reporting something bizarre. They'd sink a convoy escort ship, and 2 weeks later, encounter what appeared to be the same ship. Same class, same markings. It wasn't the same ship. It was a replacement, built in the time it took the U-boat to refuel and return to patrol. The psychological impact on U-boat crews was devastating. "What's the point?" they'd ask. "We sink 10 ships. They build 30. Morale collapsed. But here's what really baffled the Germans. The welded Liberty ships weren't just faster to build. They were more survivable. Riveted ships, when they took torpedo damage, the impact would pop rivets. Entire hull sections would separate. The ship would break apart. Welded Liberty ships? The hulls flexed, absorbed impact, stayed in one piece. Crew survival rates on welded ships were 40% higher than on riveted ships. German naval intelligence obtained photographs of damaged Liberty ships limping into port. Massive holes in the hull, but the structure intact, still floating, still functional. One Liberty ship, the SS Richard Montgomery, took a torpedo amidships, blew a hole 20 feet wide. It didn't sink. The crew patched it with concrete and sailed it back to England. Another ship, the SS Stephen Hopkins, engaged a German surface raider in a gun battle. Outgunned, out-armored, doomed. But the Liberty ship kept fighting until it sank the raider before going down itself. The welded hull held together long enough for the crew to fire every shell they had. Stories like this spread through the U-boat fleet, whispered in the cramped quarters between patrols. The American ships. They don't die easy. By 1944, German U-boat crews had a saying, "Sink 2 Liberty ships and 4 more appear." They weren't exaggerating. Total Liberty ships built during the war, 2,710. Average construction time? 42 days. Remember, experts said 45 days was the minimum, and that was with riveting. Brunton's welding method didn't just match the old speed. It tripled it. And the cost? A riveted cargo ship in 1940 cost approximately $2 million. A welded Liberty ship? $1.5 million. Cheaper, faster, stronger. The Germans never figured out how America did it. German spies in American shipyards reported back, "They're using some kind of advanced welding technique. We cannot determine the specifics." After the war, German engineers examined captured Liberty ships in detail. Their conclusion? The welds are perfect. We don't know how they achieved this level of quality at such speed. The secret? It wasn't advanced technology. It wasn't classified equipment. It was one welder who refused to accept "that's how we've always done it" as an answer. Joseph Brunton, a guy with a high school education and a welding torch. He'd won the Battle of the Atlantic with technique. So, what happened to Brunton? Did he get medals? Parades? Recognition? Nope. Joseph Brunton went back to welding after the war. Worked in shipyards until he retired in 1967. Most people never knew his name. But the U.S. Navy knew. The Navy knew exactly what he'd done. After the war, the Navy mandated welding for all ship construction. Riveting banned. Modern aircraft carriers? Welded. Submarines? Welded. Destroyers? Welded. All using refinements of Brunton's method. And those Liberty ships? They didn't disappear after the war. Hundreds of them served in the Korean War, the Vietnam War. Some even sailed into the 1990s. The SS Jeremiah O'Brien, one of Brunton's welded Liberty ships, still floats today in San Francisco. You can tour it, touch the welds, see the craftsmanship. 79 years old, still seaworthy. But here's the real legacy. Every cargo ship you see today, container ships crossing the Pacific, oil tankers, cruise ships, all welded, all using principles that Brunton pioneered. Modern shipbuilding exists because one welder looked at impossible and said, "Let me try anyway." The Germans called it the most dangerous technical development of the war. They were right, not because it was a weapon, but because it was productivity. Germany couldn't compete with American industrial output, and Brunton's method made that output 13 times more efficient. The war in the Atlantic was won, not by admirals or battleships or brilliant tactics. It was won by a welder from California who refused to rivet. One more thing. After the war, a German naval officer was interviewed about why Germany lost the Atlantic. He was asked, "Was it radar? Sonar? Aircraft carriers? What technology defeated you?" His answer? None of those. It was the ships, the American cargo ships. We'd sink one convoy, and 2 convoys would appear. We couldn't sink them fast enough. We never understood how they built so many. So fast. The interviewer pressed. But surely German intelligence discovered their methods. The officer laughed bitterly. We knew they were welding. We tried to copy it. Our welds kept failing, cracking. We never figured out their secret. The secret? Practice, precision, obsessive quality control, and one welder who believed there had to be a better way. Joseph Brunton died in 1979. His obituary in the local paper mentioned he'd worked in shipyards during the war. It didn't mention that he'd changed naval warfare forever, but the Navy remembered. At his funeral, a Navy honor guard presented his family with a flag, and a commander whispered to Brunton's son, "Your father saved more lives than any admiral in the fleet. We'll never forget." 2,710 Liberty ships, built in the time Germany thought was impossible, welded by workers trained in a method that experts said would never work, all because one man looked at 45 days and said, "I can do it in 4." The Nazis were baffled. America was unstoppable. And Joseph Brunton? He just kept welding. If you want to hear about the forbidden radar modification that let destroyers detect U-boats before they could dive, let me know in the comments. And if you learned something new about World War II that they don't teach in school, hit that subscribe button, because there are 100 more stories like this. Stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. This was the story of how one welder's insane method won the Battle of the Atlantic. 4 days, not 45. Nazis baffled. History changed.